Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Talkin Kop on this Monday night. It's absolutely freezing where I am. No matter how many, and my house is usually warm, but I'm boosting the heat in here, and the cold is beating me. It's absolutely beating me. Phil, you look really cold as well, because you live near the mountains, so it's probably really cold. How are you? I haven't seen you since Christmas. It looks
I'm
like
great.
someone's battered you in the face with something, but other than that, you look grand.
No, I'm a bit run down, to be honest with you. So I'm not well. So I've broken out in spots for the
That's all
first
the
time.
sun you got over the Christmas.
I know. Well, no, I wasn't. It was the New Year when I was off
Oh,
when I
was
was
it?
off in
Was it?
Spain.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
so off in Spain in the New Year doing the Spain thing.
Mm.
And yeah. So it's great. It's nice to be home. So it's all good. Um, it's great to be back on. Great to see all the lads. Great to see. I hope everyone's in the chat tonight. But like, Liverpool are on a break, so I'm sure loads of lads in the chat are on a break as well. So
Yeah,
it's
I
all
know there'll
good.
be loads of them in now in a minute. They're probably just watching the end of something. That's usually the way it runs. Um, anyway, tonight
Was
we
there
are.
football on tonight?
No, I don't think so. Just probably the AFCON or something. But tonight, me and you are going to talk about Everton and Forest. More sanctions, it looks like, on the way for Everton. New sanctions for Forest. People are losing their shit going, oh, what's going on with City? People need to realise City is a completely different thing. Stop worrying about it. It's in the process and it's going to take a lot longer than what's going on here. We're going to talk about things that shouldn't happen in football stadiums. And that's my topic. I'll get to that later. Just little things that annoy me when I watch football and I go, "Dad, you should just stop that." And you want to talk about football greats versus greats of the sporting world. Do the footballing
It's
greats stand up against these greats? I.e., I'm presuming you mean Tiger Woods, Ronnie O'Sullivan, along them lines. Is that where you're going?
it's just a general. Can a footballer ever be regarded as the greatest sports person of all time ever? Right. So that's what I want. I want to have this discussion because it's. I think it's really interesting. I think you
Yeah,
can
I
make
think
an
it's a great
argument
one.
for and against.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think it's a great one.
Yeah.
The our 2024 fundraiser is in the description. It is for fan support and food banks in Liverpool, and it is for the Lighthouse in Dublin. Both of those organisations working really, really hard all year round to help people that find it difficult to make ends meet. Link is in the description if you want to donate. If you want to contact us with regards to Golf Day, whether that's playing, sponsoring it, donating prizes towards the raffle on the day, you can do so at talkinkop1@gmail.com. If you can donate, it'd be absolutely excellent. But as we say, if you can't, please share it. We're over €1,000 already towards our 10,000 target, but we need people to donate and share. We really, really need it. Antoine says, hooligan Teletubby. I'm presuming that's at you. Someone says you're wearing a Man City colours. No, I just happen to be wearing a kind of Dublin colours, if you see me arm there. Just a
Yeah.
golf,
They
just a
don't
golf
get.
top.
They wouldn't get that.
Yeah, it's a Dublin colours, but I'm not even a Dublin fan. But it's just, you can't just buy clothes and go, oh, that looks like I might support Dublin. It's just a nice top,
Yeah.
golf top. But yeah, Hooligan Teletubby, I'm right behind, absolutely right behind it.
Um,
Let,
just on. I'll be having the beg and bow out as well soon. Right.
yeah, okay,
Yeah. I'm doing 5 for 5. Right.
right,
Not tickets now.
right.
I'm doing 5 events and I want to raise 5 grand. I haven't
Oh,
decided what the charity is, right? So I'm
when
doing
does
five
the
for
event
five.
start?
I'm on my first training block, so I've got just under 8 weeks to the first race and
Okay,
under 12 weeks to the second race.
yeah,
Then I'm doing an endurance cycle in June, and then I've got 2 races in September and October. So I
right,
wanted to be sure I'd be able to get through them all before I committed to doing anything. But yeah, I'm going to be doing 5 for 5, right?
cool,
So it's modest amount, but I just thought it'd be nice, catchy
yeah.
title. And there's a sixth. If we get to 5 and we're close to 6, then I've got a 6 to throw in there just as a Brucey bonus to get to 6 for 6.
Right, okay. So you put a lot of thought into this 5 for 5, and if we do 6, I'll just call it 6 for 6.
You
You
like it,
know,
yeah?
proper Dougal moment there. I like it. Right. Okay, let's get into it. Everton, of course, have been deducted 10 points earlier on in the season for financial fair play, basically. Profit and sustainability, I think is what they call it. Everton, of course, at the time owned up and went, yeah, look, they seemed all right with it. They got their 10 points. Now they're fucking outraged by it. And now, after reports over the weekend that this will come out today, it has. It's come out today that the Premier League have put Everton and Nottingham Forest forward to an independent panel over profit and sustainability regulations. this looks a bit more serious than the Everton one originally when they got 10 points. Forest, probably easy to turn around and go, yeah, listen, there has to be something going on there. They were signing about 35 players in one window. But Phil, I suppose the overall thing about this is that the whataboutery that goes on here blows my mind. And I'm not even getting into Man City, because let me put it to you right now, and we don't have to go near them. Man City is 115 charges that is currently in the process. Okay, that will be heard in the autumn of this year because of the size of the case that's there. Both sides will need X amount of time. That'll be heard, and then the ruling will come out at the end of next season, right? Which for me makes loads of sense, because if they get relegated to League Two, at that time, at the end of the season, the league, i.e. the Premier League and the EFL, are able to turn around and go, right, Grant, anyone that lost a League Cup or a playoff final is now being promoted. And everyone moves up a rung and they go down a rung and they're in League Two, right? And they're easier doing it at the end of the season. People are going on now about it. City is a completely different thing, so let's not talk about them. But Phil, the whataboutery and all this is mad, right? I'm literally reading journalists turning around and going, oh yeah, look, that might happen, but you have to think of the human element here. Like, people could lose their jobs, and people could lose their jobs. But at the end of the day, Phil, if these clubs have gone over the profit and sustainability regulations, which is 105 million losses over 3 years, they have to be dealt with.
So I think there's two things that have come out in the wash around this. I think the hard done by element that seems to exist on the Everton side is that their argument back is we've already been punished for some of the period that's in situ at this stage, and it's ridiculous we're being punished again for it. And then how come
I have the full statement from Everton. I'll read it out to you in a bit. Go on.
And then it's like, how come we're getting punished twice in the same season is the fans' head in terms of this is, right? Given that nobody got punished for ages and everyone's got punished now. They missed the part where the clubs themselves decided that they all voted for it and they got whatever majority they needed, that the majority clubs and were happy that these things will be dealt with in the season that's relevant to them. So if you're thinking about the period that they're now talking about from Everton's 22-23, right? They were all forced to provide their draft financials to the Premier League at the end of the calendar year 2023, so as that these assessments could be made to see if they're within the 3-year rolling
And this
period.
is all, and sorry, this is all because they're changing the rules come August, right? And I think the reason they're changing the rule is because it was taking too long to get hold of such accounts, and then you're 3 years down the line before you start dealing with people. So what they're going to do now is
before the punishment can happen.
Yes, they're going to change it now where come August, I think every year you have to hand them in. And if they're not on, you're getting done by the end of the football season. Simple as that, or in season. It has to be dealt with by the end of the current season.
And the regulations themselves are more lenient than the UEFA ones, right? So it's not like that you can't get around these once you don't go mental with your spending on what you've been spending on. Yeah. Like Everton's argument seems to be they were building a new stadium. Of course, we spent more money, yada yada yada, but they were spending bundles of cash on absolute toss players. Like, look how much money they spent on Pickford. Look how much money they're spending on these random fellas who are absolutely appalling. They spent, about 50, 60 million in the summertime, even though they knew they were facing into these allegations. Like, in my head, I'm there going, if I'm the club and I know I'm facing into these allegations and I know I'm facing to what's going on, I'm not going out and splashing it out of cash. I'm pulling the horns in and sitting tight until I get to Christmas, and then trying to figure out how we get ourselves through it from there. They've managed to bounce back from a 10-point deduction because they're looking in what's probably the worst Premier League I can think of.
The worst bottom six of a Premier League in a long time.
Absolutely right. And if I was them, I'd happily take another 10-point deduction because they'll probably still get out this year.
Yeah, I think so. Because 10 points would put them at 9, which would leave them... we'll put them at 7, which would leave them about 9 points off safety with 18 games to go.
Yeah, so it's like, and what have they got for it? They're about to be taken over by an absolute charlatan group as well. So if I was Everton fans, there's a part of me that want to get relegated, so I'm less attractive for this 7-7-7 crowd to take over, because those lads are no ends of badness. They're just bad. They're basically asset strippers. They're looking at a chance to buy a Premier League club to use it for whatever advertisement they want, get themselves a lovely asset in the new stadium that's being built under the water, right? And then be able to abs its trip and sell it off and make a massive big profit out of it.
Well, the thing with 777 is they're about 180 million into the Everton at the moment. Listening to, and I've said it before, listen to Dave Downey on the Blue Room. He done a great show on 777 a while ago where he got somebody in that knows all about them, and he was basically saying what they do is they take out a loan for 100 million. With the agreement, they'll pay back 110. They lend that 100 million to Everton. With the agreement, they'll get back 120. And as they're getting the payments back from Everton, they're giving them back to this other crowd, and they're making 10 million quid over 5 years or whatever it might be. And they're doing that multiple times in order to make money. But there's lawsuits all over the place because of them not paying their bills, right? The problem with 777 is that if Everton went into administration, that 100 million, 80 million, you're not getting back. You'll probably get 10 cents on the pound, right? Which means then that 777 could theoretically take over Everton at a cut price, but they won't get that money back, okay? And then their asset will be Everton, who the people that they owe money to will come looking for their asset off them. And I don't agree with Everton, some of them wanting to go down, because if they go down, I think it's, Dave Downey has said it, it's cataclysmic if they go down because of the amount of money they've spent on the stadium and X, Y, and Z. The problem here with Everton is that they put forward the stadium and COVID. But the COVID losses were miles over what anyone else had lost. And the stadium cost...
There was 125 million, and you could afford to lose 105 million across that 3-year period.
Yes,
this is the original 10-point deduction, so they're 19.5 million over.
Yeah, but over this period now, it looks like they're 250 million over, apparently. Simon Jordan is quoting that number, by the way. Right, and Simon Jordan, in fairness, I don't agree with the crowd he works for, but Simon Jordan knows more people inside football than we would, right? Now, what's happening now is that Everton have these massive losses. I think what's happened is the Premier League have gone in and went, okay, if we allow you COVID and we allow you certain amount of COVID and certain amount of stadium costs, you are still miles over. So we're doing you for it, okay? And as like, you know, Ashley says 777 are vultures. They absolutely are. They absolutely are vultures. And you know something, when you look at this from an Everton point of view, right? Are they unlucky that they're being done? Not in a financial sense, but in a sense of principles, yes. Because what's happened here is that this is all the big build-up to Man City being done, in my opinion. And the Premier League, for a couple of reasons. One, they have to show precedent before the City thing comes up. And two, the independent regulator that they don't want, they have to be able to show to independently regulate themselves. So, will I read you the statements from Forest and Everton? Because Forest feel that they will be getting a minimum sort of punishment. They seem fairly relaxed about this. They've said Nottingham Forest acknowledges the statement from the Premier League confirming that the club has today been charged with a breach of the league's profitability and sustainability rules. I may have said that wrong way around earlier. Anyway, we know what we're talking about. The clubs intend to continue to fully cooperate. The club intends to continue to cooperate fully with the Premier League on this matter, and I'm confident of a speedy and fair resolution. Right? That was Forest. Everton is a whole different ball game, an absolute whole different ball game. So Everton is quite the lengthy one. But anyway, here we go, Phil. Everton Football Club acknowledges the Premier League's decision to refer a breach of profit and sustainability rules (PSR) for the assessment period ending with the 2022-2023 season to an independent Premier League commission. Now, someone asked earlier, why is it independent? Is that who's dealing with Man City? Yes, the Premier League put these charges forward. It has to be done by an independent body. Okay, so there's no conflict of interest there. But the Premier League will be going and saying, this is what we're putting forward. This is what we want done. Can you, basically, if you hear all the evidence, if you agree with us, this is what we want done. It is an independent inquiry around them all, right? This relates to the period which covers the season 19-20, 20-21 and 21-22 and 22-23. It therefore includes financial periods 2019-20, 2021 and 21-22, for which the club has already received a 10-point sanction. The club is currently appealing that sanction. Alright? The Premier League does not have guidelines which prevent the club being sanctioned for alleged breaches in financial periods which have already been subject to punishment, unlike other governing bodies, including the EFL. As a result, And because of the Premier League's new commitment to deal with such matters in season, which is the change in rules that are coming later, the club are in a position where it's had no option but to submit a PSR calculation which remains subjective to change pending the outcome of the appeal. The club must now defend another Premier League complaint which includes the very same financial periods for which it has already been sanctioned. Before that appeal is even being heard, the club takes the view that this results from a clear deficiency in the Premier League rules. Everton can assure its fans that it will continue to defend its position during the ongoing appeal and, should it be required to do so, at any further commission, and that the impact on supporters will be reflected as part of that process. Right? So basically they're saying you're impacting our supporters by doing this. Do they have a point by saying, look, we've been sanctioned for a certain period and now we've been sanctioned again? Because I think they've been sanctioned over a period and now they're being sanctioned over the next period.
This is I get the sense that they feel victimised in it, but they're two rolling periods and they're two separate instances of what this is.
Yeah.
It's tough, but it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like they've got themselves into this position by bad financial management. The same position that Forest has got themselves into this position by poor financial management. So I have no, as I said, look, I've got no flag in this war in terms of what it is, but like both of them deserve to be punished and punished accordingly based on the size of the breach that they've done. And if that results in relegation for both of them, so be it. Like the idea that I'll be desperate if Everton went down and they went out of business, it wouldn't. That's just the way it is. If you're managed badly, businesses come and go. That's the way it is.
Is Everton's point here, and it might be a flawed one, is that for the period 19-20-21, we've been sanctioned. And you're now doing this for 20-21-22. We shouldn't be. Because if you do 19-20-21 and you do 20-21-22, 20 and 21 is already in there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's their point. But the
point is... I think the 3 years is 19, 20, 21, and then you've got... What you have, the overlapping part is 21, 22, 23, right? So when you look at... They've been done for 2021, right?
19, 20, 21, yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying where the breaches happen is 2020 and 2021, right?
Yeah.
They're arguing that that the 2021 one shouldn't be brought into the next rolling period, which is 21, 22, 23. But they're not getting that 21, 22, 23 is a separate period. Yeah. And you always have the 1 year overlap exists. So 21, what you did in 21 in the period that you were adjudicated on 19, 20, 21, that 21 is carried into 21, 22, 23. Now that impact of 21 should be the basis that you start on for 21, 22, 23. Instead, they went, this is great fun, and kept spending and made a worse situation.
So really, Everton's argument is that if they do 19, if they are losing money all over the place between 2019 and 2023, if the first investigation looks at the fourth series, which is 19, 20, 21, and you get sanctioned for it, the following 2 years where you continue to fucking just lose money all over the place is just null and void because...
Doesn't matter. You're having fun.
You've sanctioned us for 3 of the 5 years, so the last two don't knock out. It's a bit like going to prison for 5, but, you know, you've been the last 2 suspended sort of thing.
Yeah. It's absolutely shocking. Absolutely
Anthony
shocking.
says they got punished and badmouthed City. Well, the funny thing is, when they got punished, they didn't badmouth City. They just wanted to know what was going on with City, which is a fair question if you're being sanctioned by the Premier League as to what's going on with others. But I think it's fairly clear that the Man City one is monstrous compared to what it is. And it's a completely different thing because what is happening with Everton is that the money they got in was all fine. And they just overspent it because of Usmanov, more than likely, right? The thing with City is not that at all. The thing with City is that they falsified the money they were getting in. They were making up the money they were getting in and then spending it, right? So it's a completely different... It's like being done for fucking murder and crossing the road.
The City thing is the breaches of this were financial mismanagement because they have fraudulently produced figures that allowed them to stay within the values, right? So let's just simplify this to what we're talking about here. And now it's different time periods, different rules that exist. But essentially they're saying what City did was they produced financial documents which said they made 200 million and they spent only 150 million. So what they were doing was they were falsifying the figures, and they were completely inflating sponsorships, advertisements, hiding wages in offshore.
Which kept them inside the 70% or whatever it might be.
Which kept them inside, and they kept them inside the regulations and the guidelines that were in situ at this stage. It's completely different setup to what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is a structure that was set up by the Premier League as a result, I think, of the UEFA piece to ensure that they would be able to manage any of these breaches of financial fair play. Now, when I look at what we're talking about here, City, by the way, isn't my biggest question. Right, and this is mad. To me, it's Chelsea.
Well,
Chelsea.
We get to them in a second, because I think the change in the rules here is not down to sorting Everton and Forest out before this end of the season. I don't think it is. I think the whole change in rules here is putting themselves on all the ducks in the line for when they go after City, because what that means is then if for argument's sake City won't get away with it, there's just no way they can get away with it, right? But it means then that no matter what happens from this August, you will never have a problem again where you will be going in 2024 going, give us a look at the books from 2021 there, will you? Not going to happen. What's going to happen now is that you're going to put your books up every year, and they're going to go through them like a fucking like lunatics to find, A, have you spent too much, right? Or B, have you falsified the money that's coming in? And it's all because of the independent regulator. I'm convinced of it. Sorry, just to finish off what who was it? Anthony was saying. They wanted City dealt with. They weren't. They were just shouting. But at the same time, they were going, oh, well, they're just doing this to stop us becoming the next City, which was like, wow, you know what I mean? You're actually trying to become the next City that you're giving out about, which was a bit mad, right? But look, this is gonna rock on, Phil. Gucci'd Up says Forest's argument regarding Johnson's sale is absolutely ridiculous. I haven't seen that. So no, so
their argument is that their plan was always to sell some bloke. I've never heard of him in life, and I heard it was sold to Spurs for 47.5 million when I was reading this, right? So their argument was, but that he was worth more by holding on to him and selling him on the 1st of September. That's why they didn't meet the June 30th deadline. So they should be allowed to include his sale in it, because they always intended to sell him back in June. It was just that they didn't do it until September. So they want to invent a new financial set of finances where you can just say, well, I was always going to do that, but I just didn't get around to it because it didn't make sense. But I'll do it in September, but I want to add it back in, and you can include it and say that's grand for me.
Yeah.
And they're like,
tough.
That's great.
Taff Sears says City only get nothing. Premier will do a runner like UEFA, spent all the time taking backhanders under the table. Not really possible, Taff Sears, to be honest with you, because the whole UEFA thing was really shot down because statute of limitations really on it, and where they got the information from, which was Der Spiegel, and City argued around them and ended up in the Court of Arbitration of Sport and got away with it because of that. This is different. The Premier League is not governed by anybody but themselves, and the Premier League have brought them in. They can't turn around and go, oh, listen, we're dropping all charges, because they're doing it off the back of very detailed information that they have. They haven't made that up in the office on a Friday and went, lash that out, lads, and we get back to it on a Monday. They've gone through everything with regards to Man City. They found what it is. And remember, City are the ones at the start that said, we have nothing to hide, let's have this out in the open right now. And it never came out in the open. And I always said about City, Pep's demeanour and the way he has spoken and all this is a big tell, because he always said, if I was told this, if I was told that, if I found out this, I'll be gone, blum, bum, 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 bum. And now he's changed to, well, if we get put down to League 2, I'm not leaving anyway. Why would you be getting put down to League 2, Pep? You've done nothing wrong. So, you know, the City one is an ongoing thing. It's a completely different issue to what's here. It's all about money, and it's all about, you know, gaining an unfair advantage. But City's one is light years away from what is going on here with Everton and Forest. But Phil, I think you're right. I think if Forest and Everton turned around tomorrow and went, we're taking the 10 points, give us them now, we put this on to bed now, and we just fucking go for it. We chase Luton down, we've 9 points behind them. Because don't worry about Sheffield United and Burnley, it's all down to Luton and possibly Brentford at the moment. We're willing to back ourselves over 18 games to get 9 more points.
Half a season.
Yeah, I think so. I genuinely think. But Phil, they were done for 1 in 2000, and for that season to get done for 10 points. If you break the regulations again, it has to be more than 10 points.
I don't know. So this is where,
or is it just a set thing? You keep breaking it every year, and we just keep giving you 10 points.
See, again, it could be a case that it's a bit like, well, we've already deducted them to 10 points. We'll only take another 5 points off them or something like that. Do you know what I mean? That looks like it's fair. And don't forget, there is no independent regulator. So it's basically the Premier League. It's gone to an independent commission, but they'll set what the Premier League will set what the punishment comes out at the end of it if they're found guilty. So there may be some level of, well, there is a bit of double jeopardy in this, so we won't be doing it. We'll only take 5 points off. Something just
Yeah, but you see the thing is, Phil. But you see the thing is, and
it's hard to know.
But people forget this, right? This isn't a case of look, you don't like. It's not like It's not like you ground a child for a week for smoking, right? And then the following week, because that's a bad fucking way to put it. The child's 14, right? Right?
It's not 1985, like, do you know what I mean?
Right, but you ground him for a week for smoking, right? And the following week he does it again. You go, listen, I'll just ground you for 3 days now because you've done it again. Like, and also remember in all this, right? The stakeholders in this, i.e., all the other clubs, right? And they've all voted for this rule change, and they'll all get around tables and agree with this and agree with that. But the majority of the stakeholders there are going to turn and go, well, listen, if that ever happened to us, we'd get done. This is out the window. You gave them 10 points for that period. They've done it again. The minimum should be 10. Like, I could genuinely see a situation where Everton walk away with 15 points deducted here. Genuinely.
Gav, I think it's all on the table, and I think if Forest get into that same situation, they're banjacks, they're going down as well, so you can forget it. They're not going to be able to stay up, right? But Forest gamble on getting enough good players and spend enough money so that even if they did get a points deduction, to be all right. But I come back to it. I do want to talk about it because the one for me remains Chelsea. Like,
yeah.
They've said, they've owned up to the Premier League before the season started, saying that we've checked the books here, and Abramovich, they were doing funny stuff, and we breached financial guidelines over the last X amount of years under Abramovich, and we're letting you know. So, and nothing's happened. So you can talk about all the Manchester City one you want, right?
Yeah.
Where Chelsea have already said we've broken the rules here, but that was the previous regime. Like, a fine there, you can't, for consistency's sake, there has to be a points deduction there.
But you've set a precedent now of if you
of 10 points.
Because if Chelsea turn around tomorrow and go, listen, you're investigating Everton over 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23, and we've found that in that period we've actually done the same as Everton. It's just 10 points.
Yeah.
You can go to an independent panel if you want, but you've admitted it. So there's no point in really going. It's 10 points. Simple as that. And that's the precedent that's being set. And I agree with you. I think the Chelsea stuff is very, very quiet. I think the Everton stuff was more out there because they admitted to the charge. I think Forest is out there now and will be quite open because they look like they're admitting to it as well, although they're making that Brennan Johnson argument by the sounds of it. But the thing with Chelsea is that, you have to remember, if they're admitting to those charges, right, over the time Abramovich was there, and Todd Bowley and his mates are now going, oh, by the way, this is happening. They have another massive issue where they've spent an absolute fucking fortune over the last year, haven't recouped it, and they're going to be looked at now because if everyone had to give in their stuff by last June, right, or whatever it was, so they can get everything in order for this August coming, Chelsea's numbers are going to be in there, and they simply don't add up. So maybe, I think you're right to kind of point the spotlight on Chelsea as well and go, hold on a minute. As much as I disregard the argument from Everton and probably Forest fans where they say, what about City? I don't disregard their argument to go, can we talk about Chelsea? Do you know what I mean? I don't disregard their argument because it feels like it could be the exact same thing. Do you know the sort of way?
Especially when Chelsea have admitted that it's been breached, right? So this isn't a case that, like, City are denying that they've done anything complicit, they've done anything wrong, and that there's no validity in any of the charges. So there's a whole case to be heard there, right? Whereas with Chelsea, they're saying, we believe that we breached the regulations. So it's not even saying that we're grassing ourselves up and we think we've broken it and we think that, you need to know this just so you know, and we accept whatever punishment is coming our way. Like, that's, how long does that take? That's an open goal. That's the only one that missed that is Nunes.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, right, I think the thing, our Rasmus Højlund in an FA Cup game. But the thing is, like you say, it's a bit of an open goal. But I'm wondering, like, and I'm not making excuses here for Chelsea. I'm thinking, are the Premier League looking at this going, hold on, we could deal with this, right? But there's fucking huge problems over here, boys, as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, all this financial stuff, while you've been at the club, is a massive problem. And this is on top of it, where they look and they just go, they put it to Chelsea and go, listen, you're getting whatever. A fine means fuck all. They'll find that money from somewhere. Oh, yeah, we got it from, Tree or whoever sponsors them now. And there we got the money. But it's mad. Steve Murphy says, Gav, all the clubs had to have their accounts into the league before Christmas so the league could look at them. Well, then something has to be happening with Chelsea. Simply has to be. Because Chelsea's finances do not add up. There's no way they add up. Especially if you've admitted it, like you've said. And if you look just at the bare numbers of what they've brought in and what they've sold, it just doesn't happen. But look, we've done a half an hour on Everton and Forest. I think they both end up getting points deductions. I think they both end up getting another. I think Forest get 10, and I think Everton could actually get more, because it's the second defence.
Because they're really bold. They're really bold.
Well, they're the boldest boys at the moment. They're probably not the boldest boys, CER, but that's it. They've been moved to another classroom on their own. They're that bold. So we don't know the outcome there.
I think that the fear is that everyone thinks that City is the teacher's grass, right? So they're getting away with whatever they want.
Yeah. Well, look, that only came out today. I was trying to get hold of Dave Downey, but Dave just mentioned me back today going, lads, I'm all over the bleeding place trying to sort different things out for his show with regards to this. And I'm sure if you go and check out the Blue Room, update their feed possibly tomorrow morning, you will have a show from Dave. And in fairness to them boys, they speak they're absolutely honest about it. Like, Dave Downey is one of the most honest football fans you'll come across, never mind Evertonians. Reece says the Everton and City case are different. Charging someone who isn't caught on CCTV stealing from a till isn't as complex as trying to charge someone who did the Brinks mat robbery and proving it. That's basically what it is. But look, as I said, this stuff, we know a timeline on City. The Chelsea one is very interesting, and I'm sure Everton and Forest may go up against this, but if the numbers are there in black and white, you're not really being done for the same period. You're just being done for part of the same period. But they all know this. This hasn't been made up. Forget the fact they're changing rules. They know what it is. 3 years rolling. When you get into the next year, the one at the back falls off and you keep going. That's how it works. Phil, I want to talk about, and to lighten the mood a little bit, I want to talk about stuff that should be outlawed. Can we just,
before we go into, I just want to answer some queries that were coming in. Was the heating broken in my gaff? Yeah. I'm seeing some comments mentioning the heating must be broken in my house. It's terrible. Yeah. It's not. The heating's grand. I'm just sitting beside the air double doors, and there's a bit of a draft coming in, and I want to keep my head warm because I'm not feeling well. So so leave me alone. Stop picking on me. It's bullying.
Wow.
The highest order.
What an outburst. Anyway, no, it's not. Do you know what it actually is? It's actually getting that cold here, and I know people like Matt, who does this podcast, lives in Canada, and he's like,
Irish cold. Don't mind the Canadians. They're always going on about how cold
it is cold there, Phil.
It's not. It's
Irish cold different?
Irish cold and the English cold is the coldest cold in the world, right?
Because would you reckon the Canadian American cold is like a dry cold, where ours is
that's exactly what it is.
Misty, fucking horrible cold.
You don't even die in that really cold, right? So in our cold, you die in it, right? That's just the way it is.
Because there's fine rain and all thrown in there and everything.
There's everything, right? Yeah. Whereas the Canadian cold and the American cold, even though it's minus 30, if fellas can go out and shovel stadiums in minus 30 with no t-shirts on them and stuff like that, right? Then it's not really minus 30. It's just pretend.
But they're not really doing that, Phil. They're not going out with no tops on in Buffalo. And
I was sending you the video.
It's -1, says James, in Liverpool. It's to get to -5 or 6 tonight in Dublin. The whole of Ireland is under a weather warning till 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Well, as Paddy Dawson said to me when I was sending the videos of what was going on in Buffalo, tried to sort out the stadium and stuff like that. He goes, what does that mean, like, for me as an Irish fella? I said, well, if that was in Ireland, there'd be a red weather warning in effect. People wouldn't be able to lose their houses, and there'd be other fellas bulldozing Lidls just because the police can't get anywhere in the snow. So that's exactly what would be going on in Ireland, right?
Basically, what happens is in Ireland, and Antwango says -4 right now, in poorly UK southeast. I'm wrapped up like Phil, he says. Andrew Den says minus 20 for fuck's sake. I don't know where there's minus 20.
That's
Considering
in
the
America.
weather says
That's
minus
not real.
1.
Not
Paul
real
says,
cold.
considering the weather says minus 1, and then it also said it actually feels like minus 6 because, and someone did say it there, Red Steve, it's the wind, the breeze we get where it's not even cold in Canada. You're right, Phil. It's just not windy.
It's not windy. It's just it's like a dry cold, right? You see there now. Bertie saying Kansas City looked bleeding freezing. Yeah, there was ice. I saw ice in my back garden. That was absolutely uncalled for, right? And it's like it's terrifying when you see ice. You just don't know how to handle it. And like when you have to turn the car on just to get the windows cleaned and everything like that. And because there's no snow. If there's snow, we wake up and we go, Jesus, it's freezing outside. I'll prepare myself. You go out to the car and everything's frozen. You can't get the door open because it's frozen, right? That's real cold.
In Ireland,
real cold.
In Ireland, and Emma says there, if it gets that cold, you wouldn't be a sliced pan to be had. In Ireland, that's how we judge it. How badly do we need to go to shops and get bread and toilet roll and milk, right? So when it gets really cold, Irish people look in their fridge and go, I've 4 litres of milk, I'll be grand. And then they look at the press and go, I have 2 sliced pans, I'll be grand, right? Mm-hmm. And then it gets a bit colder and they go, fuck, I've only 2 sliced pans. And they start thinking about going to shops. And then it gets a little bit colder and then they're like, gone. All in, down the shops. They're walking home in the freezing cold with fucking 8 sliced pans, 14 litres of milk, whatever they can find. Just buying stuff for the sake of buying stuff. I'll tell you how bad it is. Do you remember there was a weather warning a couple of weeks back? I think it was wind and rain.
There's a weather warning every day at this stage.
Yeah, every day. But there was a proper one there a couple of weeks ago, right? And I happened. Well, you missed it. I was in
23-degree heat, swimming on the beach. It was great.
Yeah. So, but listen, I happened to be in Duns, right? In Duns, wasn't buying bread, wasn't buying milk. I think I was buying something for the dinner, right? And when I walked in, I went, "What the fuck is going on here?" This was like, this was on a Wednesday at like 12
After
o'clock.
Christmas.
12 o'clock, right? And like, I picked the envelope at 12. We drive around to Duns. Come on, we go in and grab a few bits for the dinner. And it's usually me buying stuff for the dinner before I actually go and do my big shop the following day. I've an awful habit of doing that. When I say there was fucking mayhem, right? And I went up, I just bought 4 or 5 things. I went straight to the customer service. You know, we're allowed 10 items or less. And I said to the woman, what is going on? She said, there's a weather warning. And I went, yeah, it's going to be a little bit windy and it's going to rain. You'll be fine. And she went, yeah, but you don't understand. You don't understand. It was a weather warning. And when you look down where we were standing, you look right along, you know, the edge of the tills, like the front of the tills where people queue. And all you could see was toilet rolls, milk, bread, and massive 5 litre bottles of water and loads of tinned goods. And it brought me to the conclusion that if you want to make money in this country, you go and knock on people's doors and you go, I can dig a big hole in your garden. And then I can build a wall inside that hole. I can put a roof on it. And it can become a bunker for whenever a weather warning comes out, and you would make a fortune. I don't know how we've got to this.
Can I just say on the weather warning things? This is the truth, right? It creates the panic. Like a few years ago, I'll tell you how. So before they had weather warnings, back in the day when there was no internet and there was like people were people, and we all went around, and the closest thing we had to a smartphone was a phone that had a camera that gave you an image that looked like Pac-Man going around the screen, right?
Yeah.
There was a flood in Dublin, and this is because it rained so much. Now we're talking about a proper storm, and it wasn't windy; it was just raining. No, absolutely non-stop. And the Liffey burst its banks, right?
Yeah.
And that night the buses kept running, right? Now they couldn't get down past the Liffey, so it was on one side of the city, on the other side of the city. They're doing half runs as opposed to full runs. I walked home that night. There wasn't. You weren't told to stay inside until
my favourite one, and I promise we go on to our topics now. But my favourite one was Stormophilia, right? Do you remember Stormophilia, where there was such a weather warning, everyone had to take the day off work? Do you remember it?
Where the breeze went past over 20 minutes. And Kevo goes mad because I play this down every single time. Just a couple of people died in that storm. And I was like, I know, Kevin, it's terrible and all, but a breeze passed through for 20 minutes. And
in Dublin, right? So what happened at the time, I was driving a transit van at the time, right? The company I worked for, the van I had was a transit, high roof transit, right? And the thing with vans is in high winds, they fucking wobble around a bit unless you've been waiting them. So the day before Stormophilia, I put 2 pallets of electrical cable into the van, right? And I just to weigh it down, right? Which was sound, right? That day I drove around, the van was a bit all over the place, and I was like, "Jeez, this could be bad tomorrow, right?" And at 1 o'clock the day before, we were like, "Listen, go home. It's getting too bad. Just get home. Don't be worrying about it. Get home. Be safe. Blah blah blah. There's no work for the whole country tomorrow, right?" I genuinely woke up the next day and said to me missus, "I could play golf in this. Like, I could genuinely go out and play golf.
Yeah,
in this.
yeah.
I've played in worse than this." And she was like, "No, but there's a big storm." I was like, "There's no storm coming. Like, literally what we seen yesterday was it." So that's how bad it's got. Morris Pratt and the Dunn family controlling the weather warning, says Emma Kavanagh. Big shout, big shout. Stormophilia is the best. Got off work and then nothing came but a normal day, says O'Shane. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Anyway, can I go on to my topic?
Let's go on to your topic.
Right. Things that should be outlawed in football stadiums.
In the stadiums, just
During
in
games.
stadiums.
Just in the stadium.
Fans.
Yeah. Well, you can do a bit outside the stadium if you want. But do you know what does me head in? Right, couple of things, right? And I'm basically doing this so the chat will join in. But do you know when someone gets a ball and they haven't scored in a while? And they get a 40 yards and goal and the whole crowd sounds, "Shoo!" The game should be stopped. Though. The game should be stopped. And most people should be asked to leave. Right? That's the first one. And the second one is, there's no reason to have towels around the edge of the pitch. So some fella that has a long throw can dry the football before he throws it in. This shouldn't happen.
That's an unfair advantage, that is.
And my third one is when a goalkeeper goes to kick a ball and people behind the goal goes, "Oh," and then shout something random. Yeah. Right?
I'm 100%.
That has never put off a goalkeeper.
I'm 100% passionate about this one, right? Because I think it's the most. I think all seats should be fitted with an electrical current, right? And and which has a microphone in it. And if you do it, you're electrocuted. Now you not electrocuted enough to die, but enough to stun you for about 20 minutes, right? So
what about a microphone fitted into the chair, and the charge is activated when the fella puts the ball down for the goal kick? And what happens then is that if you're heard making noise, too much noise, which will constitute, little shock.
No, not a little shock. I want something to knock you out for 20 minutes.
You can't be electrocuting people in the chairs. Just a little.
It's the only way. No, it's the only way. It's the only way. Imagine the whole main stand. They all joined in as they would, and all of a sudden, they're all just like that.
Bertie says, "Signs asking for a jersey. Does my tits in?" I don't know. Like, that's kids going to games, and kids, like we say, follow players more than they follow clubs now at this stage. But should we put an age limit on that? If you're over 14, 15, and you're walking around with a sign going, "I love you, can I have your jersey?" What happens? Like, what do we do to those people? Do we just eject them from the ground? We can't electrocute them because we're electrocuting the little kids getting electrical shocks will be generally frowned upon, says Ashley. It would be.
Not back in my day. Your teacher would bring you out. You'd be off on the school tour, and they'd bring you up to an electrical fence, and they'd stand there, hold the electrical fence, and get everyone to hold hands. And the person at the end of the line would get the electrical shock. So it was perfectly fine when I was growing up. So therefore, that was what I was built around. And what I learned, what I learned from that? Don't hold somebody who's holding an electrical fence. You're going to end up getting shocked.
Emmett says, "I hate the poxy little shuffle stutter run the players do before they take a free kick or a corner." So this little kind of stutter that they do. What do you make of that?
Well, no, here's the one for me, right? You know that Sue celebration, right?
Oh yeah, the thing.
I'd fit like
the Ronaldo thing.
Yeah, I'd fit about 800 trapdoors on the pitch, right? And if a player scored a goal and did a Sue celebration, they automatically go through a trapdoor and are locked in a sin bin for 25 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
Right?
Okay. So bad celebrations get you a 25-minute sin bin?
Yeah. Now, secondly, my second one is people who take their jerseys off of football matches, right? So, you know,
in the stand.
Yeah, right.
So Newcastle's allocation be cut in half.
Yeah, but no, they're getting cattle prod levels of electrocutions, right? So we're back to electrocution again.
No, I don't think we can. You can't use electrocution for everyone. What about right? If they take their tops off, their tops are taken like away from them by stewards, and then you could have pipes above their heads with little holes in them, and just a light spray of really fucking cold water, just constantly on them for 90 minutes.
Well, it just offends me, this no top on in the stadium. Like, I don't get the point of it.
Talkin Kop says fans with drums should be banned.
We'll come back to that in a second. But seriously, we have to deal with this topless man syndrome, because generally the topless man syndrome is not somebody now that you'd want to see on a modelling catalogue either, right?
Right.
Yeah,
correct.
It's like, why are you doing this?
Not even the one they're not even the one that Freddie Flintoff used to advertise. What's the clothes for the big fellas? What are they called?
Jack off or something.
Jack off. Yeah, it is something like that. What's it called?
Giacomo.
Jack off. Red Steve says trapdoor, sin bin, and electrocuted. Perfect. What did you make of and you probably haven't seen it.
If I can't electrocute them, ejection. But not ejection by the stewards, an ejector seat over the stadium.
Right. There's a lot of money going into the stadium here on seats, microphones, electrical charges. Emmett mentions Jason Tindall, of course, the Newcastle assistant manager, who, after they beat the mighty Sunderland 3-0 in the FA Cup, gathered all the team together, all the staff, to get a photo taken in front of their fans on the pitch after the game. The likes of him should be fucking done away with. Jason Tindall.
Yeah, like, he should have stuck to rugby. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just.
I don't think that's the same Tindall.
Nah, who cares? We're just
they're all the same, them Tindalls.
They're all the same, aren't they? Yeah.
They all look the same, them Tindalls.
it's not a common name, so there must be only 11 of them or so in England, right? It's not even that big of a country, so yeah, I'd say they're all related. But yeah, like, let's be honest about it. I think this is it's Newcastle Stadium should be shut down, just closed down. Right?
There's an awful lot going on, isn't there? They've no tops on. They've Jason Tindall. John Halton says, Phil, electric shock's bad enough, but now Gav wants to add water. I didn't think about that, actually. Because if someone happens to take their top off and then shout, whoa, but nearly guaranteed death. And that might be going a little bit far.
Just hold the fella's hand.
Yeah.
Hold the fella's hand while you're getting electrocuted and he's no top on, he's getting covered in water.
Paul Giovanni says, these all sound like something Neville will come up with from Manchester United land, which is still by far the highlight of my season, is the fact that Gary Neville wants to open a Manchester United land. What else do I want? Do you know what I want to bring back?
Okay, tell you what I want. Do you know what I want to do, right? Genuinely, do you know what I want to do, right? You know this, I think what should be banned from stadiums, Manchester United protesting anything, right?
Right.
Because it's the most selfish, childish load of spatulas I've ever seen in my life, right? If we don't win enough matches, we put on green and gold scarves and give out about your men, right? And if we sign loads of players and they're scoring goals, then we give them all love and stuff like that. We won't care. We'll take the green and gold scarves off. So they should be banned from protesting anything. And actually, they should have been given a points deduction for the year that got a match called off instead of being praised for having a march on the pitch. Do you remember that? That was outrageous.
Yes.
I'm outraged to this day.
All which was done by Gary Neville. Do you remember he was high-fiving them all coming down the stand?
Gary Neville should be banned. Gary Neville should be banned from stadiums.
All
right?
stadiums.
He shouldn't be allowed in any stadiums.
He shouldn't have any. He shouldn't be allowed to have any social media, any access to the internet or the TV as well. Michael Murphy says this is a good one. He says players with hands over their mouth when talking to each other does my head, and no one gives a rat's what you're saying. I agree with him. If they put their hands up like this and they're talking behind that thing, it should be, the camera should go in on them, right? The lights go down in the stadium, big spotlight onto them, right?
Yeah, they have to tell us what you're saying.
You're clearly a slave in 3-match ban.
No.
You're clearly talking about someone 3-match ban.
Electrocution.
No, don't electrocute them. We've no electricity left. We've no electricity left.
Out with a camera and just goes.
Sean says tiny seats, his arse. His arse gets angry. What the fuck's that beeping, lads? Driving me mad. I didn't know.
That's the dishwasher. You know the way I put it on every night. Just
yeah, okay. Do you know what I want to bring back though? Do you know what I want to bring back? I seen it the other day, and there's what's your man's name on Twitter? Yeah. His name is, it's Brian Gunn. It's after Brian Gunn. You remember the Norwich goalkeeper? Is
the fella who does all the video things.
Yeah, he's deadly, right? And there's another one now, a nostalgic 1980s football or something it's called, which is brilliant. But I've noticed on a couple of his videos, and it should be brought back, all goalkeepers should be made to bring a towel and one of those little wash bags into the goal with them. When did that stop?
I don't know, because before I finished playing, I always had a towel and the glove bag in the back of the goal.
Yeah, but they don't bring that anymore, and I think that was great. You know the way, and it looked aesthetically great. You know, if someone shot and it hit the bag in the net, and the bag would go flying. I think I think they should get extra points if they take a smoke out of it during the game, or a little nagging, and they just have a little bleeding thing. You know, if they're well on top, like if Alisson Becker come out, right, and Liverpool are on top for most games, and you look down, the camera pans to Alisson Becker, and he stand there with a little nagging of vodka or a little nagging of whiskey, and he's having a smoke, and he's just like, well, look, this is me little rest time now, you know, and I'm back in the bag. I love it. I remember I played football with a fella, and he used to have joints in it, and a little radio, and he'd be just fucking standing in the goal singing to himself, and he'd be smoking joints while he was playing. He was brilliant. He was brilliant. Good goalkeeper as well. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I knew people.
Robert Werner says Gary Neville enters the stadium. One of those toy machine grabbers comes along and picks him up and electric shocks him on the way out. I'm 100% behind that. Actually, we don't even need to build the mechanisms. You know those cameras that they have to go over the pitches now, the spider cameras.
Yeah.
Install them with the grabber, right? And they can they'll be able to remove Gary Neville from any part of the stadium if he tries to sneak in or whatever. Just pick him up and remove him. There he's gone.
Do you know what I'm not a massive fan of as well? I think they should stop with, you know, the advertising boards, the electric ones, right? That's not the right word for them, isn't it? The advertising boards.
Advertising boards, yeah. Advertising boards.
The electric, aren't they? They are electric. There's a word for them. Can't remember them. But the ones where all the stuff moves on them, right? Rather than the old boards that just sat around the end. They should ban having the one company moving around that at the one time. Does your fucking head in. Whether you're in the ground or watching it on the telly. That should be done away with. So if Harvey Norman want to advertise Hordens is the word, yeah, but advertising Hordens. But
do you know? Here's an not interesting fact, because whenever you say here's an interesting fact, no. Do you know that those advertisement Hordens on television don't show the same advertisements to one in the ground, and don't show the same advertisements in different parts of the world?
How does that work?
They replace the advertisements based on the broadcast and where it is across the globe.
How did you do that?
Well, obviously through the miracle of television. It's a device where they're able to edit, but they have different feeds. So if you're selling the football games into the Muslim markets, all the betting and alcohol advertisements disappear away from around the side of the grounds. Yeah, in America, they'll have certain brands that aren't available, so they have different advertisements going around the stadium.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Now there you go.
I never knew that. That's you said not interesting. That's one of the most interesting things I've ever heard.
There you go.
Apart from electrocuting people taking the top off in football grounds and spraying them with water. It's I never knew that. Ant Wango says, get out. There you go. Look it up. Optical illusion, Gav. Yeah, maybe so. But how does that work? Did he just overlay them?
Yeah.
So the ones in the ground are clearly seen and are okay for certain markets, and then they just overlay ones for different markets then. Yeah,
so and they've obviously got it tuned to what it looks like. It's amazing. It's genuine. It's one of the most amazing things about television. When I started to see when I found out about this,
if I turned on, say, Liverpool's match, right, and I'm watching it on Sky,
yep,
right, but then I find it on a link on beIN Sports, there'd be different advertising. I'm gonna do that.
There you go.
Oh my God, I'm so doing that the next game I'm watching. Oh my God,
Two games on.
Yeah, 100%. That is mad. That is a brilliant fact. Anyway, let's move on to your subject because we've only a couple of minutes left. Well, yours is?
Mine is simple, right? So this comes off the back of Shawnee said last night that Ronnie O'Sullivan is the greatest sportsman of all time, right? And it got me thinking, because I was saying, well, what about Phil the Power Taylor? He says, because Shawnee says there's never been any player in his own sport as good as Ronnie O'Sullivan, based on what he can do and what he is. And I was like, well, this is interesting. And then I said, what about Phil the Power Taylor? Because he absolutely dominated darts for the amount of times that he was involved. It was
Tiger
just
Woods.
the first, yeah, no, just the first one that came off my head. And if you want to go Tiger Woods, and you're talking about Jack Nicklaus, because Tiger Woods never caught up, right? So Jack Nicklaus absolutely dominated the golf.
Yes, but Tiger Woods played in a much more competitive era of golf than Jack Nicklaus did.
Grant, that'll lead us on to this debate in terms of what it is. But so there's two sides to this. We can talk about what makes up the greatest sports person ever, right? And can a person who played team sports ever be in that conversation, right?
So
and this is where
you
this is
would.
where it get-
So someone like, say, Michael Jordan
yeah,
compared to a Ronnie O'Sullivan,
yeah,
or a Messi compared to a Tiger Woods.
yeah.
Right.
Or
okay.
and there's loads like individual sports, right? Make it simpler for us to be able to say somebody is the greatest sports person of all time. A boxer, say Muhammad Ali, say Mike Tyson in his absolute prime. Do you know what I mean? There's nobody could have laid a glove on him in terms of what's there. So, but to be the greatest of all time, and I'm talking about because we use the GOAT thing all the way around. How do you compare someone like Messi, someone like Maradona, someone like Pele, in that essence, when you've got these guys who literally compete for themselves and show and do it, right? Can they hold an equal status to it? Because if you take Ronnie O'Sullivan, well, he wins his first world championship in 1995, right?
Does he?
Yeah, and he's still winning at the moment. That's like for longevity, it's hard to match somebody as good as him. Now,
yeah, like Ronnie O'Sullivan's the best player to ever pick up a cue. There's no doubt about that. There's just no doubt. He's that good. Mm-hmm. The records tell you that. The amount of titles he's won, the amount of 147s he's had, the amount of 100 breaks he's had. But then you also have to go into the difficulty of what people are doing. You know, like the 147 is, I think it's 37 shots. Right? So it's 15 blacks, 15 reds, 15 blacks.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's yellow, green, brown, blue, pink, and black. So it's 36 shots, I think, right? And you go, Jesus, the position that you have to keep, you know. And then you look at darts, and people always say, is a 9 dart or harder? Well, 9 darts is, you know, what, 27 less than the thing. But you have to throw this thing exactly the same 9 times. Well, 6 times and 8 times and possibly a double. And then you look at the hole in one. You're much further away, right? You're hitting it once, but then you have to bring into the fact that there's wind, there's rain, there's heat, believe it or not. Makes a massive difference to the golf ball. Then there's the terrain that the ball's landed on. The angles, so there's loads of arguments around it. But I think your one's an interesting one, where team sport versus individual sport. Like, I think it's very hard to pick the greatest sports person of all time, because I would definitely have Tiger Woods in that, and I'm only speaking from me as a golf fan. And someone else said there, golf is not a sport. It really, really is a sport. And say Lionel Messi. If you told me to pick 2 of the greatest sports people of all time, I would think are Lionel Messi and Tiger Woods. One is an individual, one is for a team. But I know where you're coming from. It's hard to, it's hard to differentiate, I suppose. Do you think you can put a player like Messi alongside the likes of a Woods or a Phil Taylor or Ronnie O'Sullivan? Do you think you can?
See, when I started thinking of who's the greatest sports person of all time, it's like you get into so many different variables, don't you? It's like if you're talking about who's the greatest athlete of all time, right? So this is where your brain starts to go. Like when we talk about Ronnie O'Sullivan and fellas who are playing games that don't exactly take a massive toll on your body physically, just by the nature of the type of sport it is. Then you start thinking about fellas who have been sort of like, remember those those CrossFit games where they do all match you they're weightlifting and they're going up and down ropes and they're going over this thing. And there was a fella there, because I watched loads of documentaries on him, and he was basically unbeaten for the best part of 8 years. No matter what, nobody could put a bar past him, right? He's probably the greatest athlete of all time. But then you think of Usain Bolt. Like, nobody has dominated the 100 meters and 200 meters like Usain Bolt has. Nobody was such a global figure and representing what that sport was. And since then, I couldn't tell you who's even racing the 100 meters and 200. It's like athletics has
So
died.
did you need to transcend sport?
Yeah, this what it's the transcension of the sport to where they become such a recognizable household name. So for you to put Tiger Woods in there, I would be saying he's definitely on my list of people who I would consider being up for the title of greatest sports person of all time, purely because he transcended golf. He took golf to something else, right? He brought it to I threw Jack Nicklaus in there because as a pure player, like, nobody was able to hold a candle. It's like when you talk about Eddie Merckx as a cyclist. There'll never be another Eddie Merckx. There'll never be anyone that can achieve what he did. And physically, he probably achieved something that none of the modern day riders, despite everything that's going on, could do, because he was on a bike that only had 6 gears. Right? Like, this is what this fella won all the Tour de France's, won everything, and was still winning 1 day races, half a day races, 600-kilometer races, Tour de France's, Giros, Vueltas. Like, if anyone is into racing at all, into cycling, like, they know who Eddie Merckx is, because he is literally the god of the sport, right? But again, this I know from the time when I watched Stephen Roach and Sean Kelly and stuff like that, and knew that he existed. So it comes down, like, I keep going back to it, and I'd love to do a separate show when there's an international break or something. Maybe we do a fight off between the greatest sports people of all time.
I'll tell you what. The next break we have, right, won't happen.
I think Keith would be great on this as well.
Right, well, the next break we'll have, I'll get me, you, and Keith, and we all have to bring our top 10 sports people of all time, and give your arguments as to why you would have them number 10 down to number 1. And it'd be interesting to see how many are actually part of a team sport and how many are part of an individual sport. But I think it might be like you said, the transcension of sport. Like Tiger Woods, remember, as a black man, wins the Masters in 1997, I think, and like not too far before that, black fellas couldn't play in it.
Yeah, weren't allowed.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And Jack Nicklaus still holds the record for 18 major titles, and I don't think it'll ever be touched unless someone absolutely phenomenal comes along. Woods, barring the injuries and stuff like that, and possibly what he's done in his personal life over the last, not so much last 4 or 5, but the 10 before that, possibly would have done it. But you have to remember, Woods' body is breaking down because the competition against him was fierce. He made it look easy, but it was fierce. And people were getting better. The clubs were getting better. The technology was getting better. The ball was flying further. So people were catching him, right? Because they were getting bigger. They were getting stronger. There was more technique to them. Everything about Woods was technique and timing, and he was brilliant. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Like Schumacher is mentioned there by Emma Kavanagh. AP McCoy, Frankie Dettori, Woods, Tyson, Ali, all individual legends.
Emma mentioned Schumacher and Hamilton, right? And if I was in a room with Emma now, I'd say, you're mad. You haven't mentioned Senna. You haven't mentioned Fangio. You haven't mentioned, like, these are again, I come back to people who transcend, and Schumacher transcends. And I would argue against Hamilton. I think what Hamilton has done on a social side is brilliant in terms of the sport or whatever it is. But like, Michael Schumacher was a global figure. Ayrton Senna was a global figure. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, people knew the name before they even knew what the sport was. They knew that this guy raced cars. Do you know that way? And Michael Jordan, I know I keep shouting Jordan. I completely agree on Michael Jordan. And he's going to be in my list of the top 10 because he did something that hadn't been done before. You know what I mean? He did something that no basketball player had achieved. He did something that lasts today, and he himself became a brand. How many, like, when I'm talking about the greatest sports person of all time, to become a brand, only nowadays can we talk about people becoming brands. But like, I'd argue, like, when we talk about Messi, when we talk about Tiger Woods, they became brands. But they became brands because Jordan led that path.
But when you look, but you even, like, just going back to Woods, Nike are literally pulling out of golf.
Yeah.
because the deal with Tiger Woods is no longer ongoing, and they feel that without Woods on their books because he was that big, they're literally considering pulling out of golf. They pulled out the equipment race in golf after Woods used their clubs and went, nah, not for me, good luck, right? And they literally got rid of all their clubs. They were making clubs, and if you remember, Rory McIlroy signed a deal with Nike to use Nike clubs, use them for a while and put them in the bin as quick as he could. And now because Woods has gone away from Nike, or Nike aren't renewing or whatever, Nike are just considering pulling away from golf altogether because you don't see the value in it. John Halton says, using Phil's point of transcending their sport, then the conversation stops after Muhammad Ali, the absolute greatest in his opinion. Let's do this show. Let's do this show in a little while. Me, you, and you and Keith on board. So me, you and Keith, we bring our top 10 sports people of all time.
I think, Gav, it'll be worth. We can share it amongst ourselves, so that if we have common ones, it's really just a case of where our arguments as to where they should be on the list, and then we're always going to have a couple of different ones that we want to throw in just because of our natural interest in sports. Do you know what I mean? And like I'll probably, I won't lie, I'll probably have Jan Frodeno thrown in there, who's like arguably the greatest triathlete of all time. And
what about Alberto Tomba? I always remember watching him on Eurosport going down the skis, doing the bits.
This is what I'm saying. This is where
I don't even know if he was good, Phil. I just remember his name. It's the only fella I remember. Eurosport.
No, I'm talking
downhill skiing.
Now, Eddie the Eagle down the jumping.
Edgy the Eagle. Emmett's gone mad. He forgot to send it.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm on the show, Emmett, and you aren't. So just think about it.
And Ashley says it is difficult to not to have recency bias when coming up with these names. It is, but I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll try not to have recency bias. We'll try put sports, like, it'd be very easy to pick 3 footballers, 3 golfers for me, and then go, and we'll do our best. And if you don't agree with it, you can tell us when we do the show.
Sure, your man that kicked the goal, the drop kick over the bar for England to win the World Cup.
Johnny Wilkinson.
Like, he's going to be in my consideration. I'm not saying he's making the list.
What about John Olomu?
Yeah. What about Dan the man for the All Blacks?
Carter.
Daniel Carter. Yeah, for all sports. Like, when I think about Michael Phelps, Ian Thorpe.
Yeah.
Right? The torpedo.
Michelle de Bruyne.
Upper 12.
Just turned up one day in Atlanta and went, I'll swim.
I'm deadly at swimming.
I am whopper at swimming. Watch this.
Whopper.
Give us a hat. Give us a swimming hat there.
I went to San Antonio on my holidays and swam from one side of the bay to the other in less than a minute.
She had bleeding Kiara shirts hanging out of her bag when she walked into that place. Yeah, and I remember the time in school I went into the 6 foot end and grabbed the dummy that had a brick attached to it and saved it and all. Yeah, that was mad. Mark Spitz, says Emma Kavanagh. Look at the Undertaker, says that.
And to be fair, right? And to be fair, has a point, because if we were to extend it out to sport,
did the Attitude Era of the WWE transcend sports entertainment? It may have.
It's not sport.
It's sports entertainment.
You see that last bit there?
Yeah.
That's when
I'm half tempted to throw Stone Cold into my list now, I'm being honest with you. The Rock. Can't argue with him.
No, I can't argue. See, Dan there now. Dan is onto something because he knows how my brain thinks, right?
Lance Armstrong. Yeah.
He's definitely close to. Look, I've long said it. As people,
Joey Dunlop in there.
Yeah.
Look, there's loads of names. So
loads. It's like this is what it's about, right?
Do you know what?
And actually, what we could do, Gav, is we're going
to do it. I'll tell you what we do. We don't have to wait till the next international break. We will bring it to you as a member show at some stage in the next couple of weeks. So if you're not a member, it's €1 a week, $3.99 a month. You get loads of shows. Now, they have been all over the place because of Christmas and stuff like that. But we're back into it now. And you probably get 20 plus shows a month. There's loads of stuff goes on in there. You have Keith with the helm, where he's talking about football ownership amongst different Premier League and Championship football clubs that come up. We done the title, which was 6 episodes of that. We do the tribute, where we bring someone on to do 3 Liverpool players you want to pay tribute to. We do the 30 every morning. which is good crack. We try to get 3 or 4 of them in a week, and we bring you over 20 shows. The last 30 ended up being the 60 because me and Kev had a raging row over the new recycling stuff coming into Ireland from February the 1st, which was the absolute crack, and the reaction it got was absolutely mental. So if you want to become a member, the join button is there. If you're on your desktop, it's easy. If you're on your Android, it's easy. If you're on iPhone, it's not. When you're on iPhone, you need to go to the desktop version on your iPhone and join from there. Michael Murphy says, Kez the goalie from the film Kez. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Top 10 male and top 10 female, says John Halton. Yeah, you could do it, but I think...
Let's see where we go with it. Let's see where it goes, because there is some women that should be in the conversation for this.
Yeah. Annika Sorensen, the golfer, was brilliant.
Yeah. She was.
So there's loads of them. I'm just thinking, I'll just golf on the brain at the minute. Anyway, we're going to go. We will have a 30 in the morning. That's a definite. And we will have a quiz tomorrow night where myself, Robbie and Keith are going to take part in a Liverpool-based quiz. It has a little bit of a twist, but we will be with you tomorrow night. Before we leave, though, I just want to give a mention to some very, very sad news that came to us last Thursday evening. And for any of you that watch this podcast or listen to this podcast would know Davo. That's on regular. We always tell people that we need to get off by 11 o'clock because he's in work in 20 minutes, as he is a postman and he works very, very early. There was very sad news came to us last Thursday evening that his brother Neil was in hospital in a very serious way, in a day that started off as a very standard procedure he was going to have in the hospital, and it ended up where it didn't look good for Neil from Friday afternoon onwards, and unfortunately Neil passed away yesterday morning at 11:30 a.m. Now, most of you won't know Neil, but you'll know Davo, and Davo is an absolute gentleman. You couldn't come across a nicer fella if you tried. And to be honest with you, it must run in the family, because the reaction to this and the tributes being paid to Neil from football clubs he played from, friends, GAA clubs he played for, just lads that came across him and had a drink with him, would tell you that there was more than one gentleman in that family, and Neil was definitely one of those. It's an extremely, extremely sad set of circumstances. It's a very, very sad thing to happen to Shane. Shane, who of course, as we know, is Davo. His sister Aoife, his mum and dad, Neil's wife and kids, and their extended family, their extended set of friends. Just really, really terrible news. It's hit us all hard. And look, I've had so many people come on to me and say, look, Jesus, can you send on a word? I did. I messaged Davo today and said, look, there's loads of people asking about you. Sending on the condolences. Stay strong. And there's loads of people in the chat will do so now. But if you want to, and there's a couple of people in there leaving some nice messages now. But if you want to take the time afterwards to leave a note in the comment section, I'm sure Davo will find it in time and will find some comfort in it from your words of support and condolences and stuff like that. Phil, it just doesn't. It's just horrible, isn't it? And you know, we always say it when these things happen, or when something happens like this, or something serious happens. Like we are a load of lads that love to have a laugh and take the mick out of each other, but we're a fairly tight knit bunch when these things happen. It's just all you can do is look out for Davo and family and friends right now.
Yeah. Like as I said to myself, there's no words. Like it was a big shock to everyone. We were fortunate enough to meet Neil a couple of times.
I've met him once. Events.
Yeah. And he was great crack. You know, like him and Shane were glued together at the hip. So like that's why whenever there was an event on or whatever, we were in Camden or whatever it was, he inevitably turned up as well. So, yeah. It's a tough time for him. I can't offer any words of respite or anything like that, because it's too much of a shock, and it's too it's too raw. And as I said to Shane myself, I said, look, all he can do at the moment is mind himself, mind his family, and know that we're all there from, and we're all thinking from. And it's all we can do. And if he needs anything, we're all, as I said, we're a tight knit group, and we always will be. So he knows where we are if he needs anything at all.
Yeah, 100%, and he's been told that by me and many others that whether day or night, if he needs anything, we'll just drop everything and be gone to be with him or to do anything for him or whatever it might be. We will do that, whether that's today, tomorrow, the coming days, weeks, months, whatever it might be. Davo will be back on here whenever he's ready to come back on here. But but I think right now, if take it. These things are horrible, and take a minute to just give him a little bit of time in your own head to think about him and wish him all the best in your own sort of way. And like I said, if you want to stick something in the comments, he will see them. We will point to them at some stage from and say, look, the support is there for you. And people that just listen or watch this show, if they're able to leave a comment there and just support them, that would be amazing. But this show tonight is for Neil Davern. Not for me, not for Phil, not for anyone else. It's for Neil Davern. May he rest in peace. And we'll look after Davo. We will definitely look after Davo. That has been the Monday night on the Talkin Kop. Thanks a million to Phil. Thanks a million for everyone in the chat. We will be back tomorrow. All the best. Over and out.